Hey, thanks for stopping by my neck of the woods. I'm the gig geezer in Wood Lane, and when I'm out there driving, I'm out there to make some money. I want to help you maximize your gig hustle.
Well, I'm back here on YouTube again. The Gig Geezer simply has just been busy and just has not been able to get around to uploading content as I had desired to. In fact, almost 2 weeks have now passed since the last time I've uploaded content for the Gig Geezer channel. For those of you who have checked out my content, hey, thank you. And for those of you who may like the content that I've provided in this segment or in other segments that I've uploaded here on my channel, hey, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up. I welcome your comments. Sorry about the light here. I'm actually driving into the sun and heading home from a first half hustle today, which is December 18, a week before Christmas. Now, getting into the content. This is one that I actually had put together, compiled content for, and had just not yet edited. So today is actually a refreshing of what I actually had done 2 weeks ago on being tip baited, and that's what I'm getting into. Now, 2 weeks ago, as you're gonna find as I incorporate the content from that into this one, it was an Instacart order, and I got tip baited. Now, there's a little bit of a silver lining in that particular experience, but there's no silver lining in this experience with UberEats. To explain the situation today, I accepted a Panera Bread order. It was for $9.57. The drop-off location was probably 10 minutes away. Now, the way things have been going today has been kind of slow, and also with, that it was slow. It's slow because people are out doing their Christmas shopping or holiday shopping. And also, the Gig Geezer is trying to stay away from the crowded areas of the Columbia metropolitan area. And I managed to do that in the 3 hours, 15 minutes that I was out. 3 hours, 15 minutes, at tops, that I was out doing my hustle. So I was okay with not meeting my $100 goal, but I made it close. Now, so the order instructions was to meet at the door. It was at an apartment building, 3rd floor, of course. The other thing is that the Gig Geezer always gets orders into subdivisions, often the deepest, furthest, farthest cracks and crevices of the subdivision and developments. And I actually had that happen with another drop off today. But anyway, by the time I got up to the 3rd floor, the guy was out the door waiting to get his order. No big deal. I mean, I had an order earlier today where the guy was outside waiting on me as well. I noticed when I went back in, just out of curiosity with my ratings, my thumbs up rating had dropped from 94 to 93. Then I went further into the driver page where on mine it's showing where I have deliveries and rides. Well, that's another thing about the rides. On this particular Uber Eats account, I've been cleared to actually do rideshare, but I've yet to do it. There's the rating, and then there's if you've been knocked for something by a customer, it says reports. Well, I had 2 reports. I contacted Uber Eats, and I was on the phone a combination of 20 minutes. Still got no answer. Well, this person obviously, and I'm going to use the $10 word again, inveterate, habitual with how he does things. Or it could be a case where this person just didn't like who was bringing him his food. And that happens a lot in my market. Now, you wonder, what do I mean by that? Well, look at me. Know that the fact that I'm in South Carolina, and you put 1 and 1 together, and you'll understand what I'm saying, okay? Now, some people say, oh, I don't believe that. It happens. It happens a lot in this market. And that's what I'm wondering what happened in the fact that why I got tip baited. This person didn't like who brought him his food. So he cut the tip from $5 and change to just a flat $3. And then to make it look real nice and pretty, he alleges a couple of things that not even UberEats knows, or at least they're not able to tell me. And I'm gonna guess that probably took too long, unprofessional, or something to that effect. So the typical stuff that customers like to use to try to get a driver, typically in rideshare, to pretty much cause a driver to lose their active status on the platform. Well, of course, with UberEats, you're wasting your time contacting support to argue it. You're wasting your time if you try to fight it. I recall on another page where a channel host shared the experience of another driver who'd been on the app for multiple years and had completed several thousand rides. And because he didn't even get into it with the rider according to his side of the story. But the rider asked whether he could smoke in his vehicle, and he says, please, I prefer that you not. I'm kind of paraphrasing it. And so the rider, being indignant, retaliated. That's basically what it was, retaliation, and crocked up a story that got him deactivated. And the thing with Uber and with Lyft, I'm almost certain with Lyft now, Lyft did not used to be this way. But with Uber, you are automatically presumed guilty. You are almost automatically, your account is deactivated or suspended based on these type of allegations. Now, I recall a few years ago where I had a customer did something similar to me. I know I'm getting off into something else, but this is all related. About 3 years ago, 2018, with a different vehicle that I had, I picked up a guy at the airport. He was from Florida. He said he was a driver as well. We're on the freeway going to his location. And then I noticed something odd was happening with my vehicle. There was this very loud vibration. There was something that I had noticed before. And to make a long story short, what had happened was one of the bolts that fits into my brake caliper bracket had backed out. And so when something like that happens, when the bolt backs out of the brake caliper housing, it feels as if the caliper's coming off. It's grinding up against the wheel, or if not that, it feels like something's coming apart. The wheel's falling, the tires coming off, or you lost a couple of lug nuts or what have you. Well, I explained to the guy what had happened, and so he just went about with his mindset that he called for another ride. About 10 minutes later, somebody picked him up on the side of the freeway. He reported me to Uber, and my account was suspended, alleging that my vehicle was unfit for riders. Whatever the case was, I don't even remember, but Uber had my account suspended. And I contacted Uber about it, and they're saying that, okay, you've got to show us proof that you have remedied the problem before we will activate you again. Now that was a nice situation. Now, as it turned out, I had to wait until the next day before I could actually remedy the situation, because there was no place because it happened in the afternoon and places were closing, part shops were closing and so forth. Particularly the dealerships, because I had to go to the dealership to get the actual bolt. The part shops didn't have it, so I had to wait until the dealership the next morning to get the bolt. Drive back to where I parked the vehicle on the side of the freeway, put the bolt in, take pictures, take pictures of a receipt and all, and explain to them this was the problem. The bolt had backed out. Well, they once they saw the evidence that my vehicle was drivable again and all, and that there was no obvious problems, no obvious potential problems. Never had that happen again. So I know that I'm going off into another thing, but we're still talking about customers who tip bait us, and they'll allege a lot of reasons if they give an explanation. They'll allege things that are unjustifiable, unwarranted, just completely false. But then it's on you to try to prove differently. The problem, though, with Uber and a lot of these apps is that it falls on deaf ears. And so you're left with the sting, the bad feeling, the bad taste of something like this happening. Now, this was just a couple of dollars. And it was also a knock against my rating. It dropped from 94 to 93. I've learned that those thumbs up ratings really means nothing as far as the incentives and so forth. I've looked into the incentives. They really mean nothing to me. I'm going to incorporate now the content that I have with Instacart. And when I come back, I'm going to kind of sum things up as best as I can. Hopefully this will help you in your hustle. There's a saying I used to hear from time to time when I was coming along, and that was, you didn't mess with a person's money. You want to find the true side of a person, mess with their money. And I'll go as far as to add from personal childhood experience, you don't mess with a dog while they're eating. Well, today, the gig user's money was messed with. I'm not going to say that the person experienced the other side, but I will say that it brought out a part of me in which I had to practice what I preach. As a rule of thumb, the gig user's order preferences with Instacart are $14 for single orders. If it's $14, it's got to be no more than 20 items. Double stacked orders, somewhere in the $28 to $30 range, but with no more than 40 items. If it's triple stacked order, in the $40 range, right at about, and no more than 55 items. And then of course, if it's your big items that paying single orders in which you're paying $50, $60, $70, $80, well, the gig geezer just jumps on it, and he just, if it's a favorable one, great. If it's not, then he just grimaces but looks for the pay. Well, that's where this particular order fell into the gig geezer's parameters. $40, no more than 55 items. The actual delivery locations were probably at the most about 20-25 minutes apart. I've not had many orders that have been tip baited. However, there's that feeling that you experience when somebody's messed with your money. You feel like you've been stiffed, you've been shammed, you feel like you've been abused because you've put in the effort and all, and this person does what they do. Now, how did I know I'd been tip baited? The way I noticed how the final totals with this order came about was kind of unusual. In recent weeks and months, Instacart has just showed you what your final amount should be once you've hit once you hit the complete tab on the app. Well, in this particular case, customer C's tip showed up first. Then customer B's tip showed up second. Then the base amount for the order showed up. So we're at $26 and change. No customer A. Now, customer A. What can I say about customer A? Well, customer A stays on a street that I now have come to despise because I've delivered orders on other apps on that street to other customers. And every last one of them tip very minimally. They're very frugal with their tipping. And on this particular street that I'm talking about, we're talking about 300, 400,000, maybe $500,000 homes that are two-storied with 2- and 3-car garages. And these people can't tip people for the work that they do. I don't understand it, but that's common. Some of my best tips have come from people in trailer homes out in the more remote parts of Lexington County. And then some of the worst tippers I've experienced, of course, have been in some of these real nice developments and subdivisions. Don't know what it is, but people say that's how the rich stay rich. Well, moving on. As I said, I joked to myself that these people probably didn't tip. Did not know that I actually spoke something into existence, but really I didn't. Now, normally at least it's been my experience, when a customer has tip baited you or taken back a portion of the tip, there's in the fine print on the earnings page that it says customer adjusted tip after order, or after completion of order. In this particular case, it just says tips adjustments based on because of. Now, what I'm getting at is sometimes your tip is adjusted based on the items that you've selected, and also it could be based on the weight of the item, or the quantity of items, or the availability of items. Sometimes that's generally what that notation means. Well, it's apparent then that this customer pulled back on the tip right after the order was accepted. Now, this is something I suspect is what other drivers have experienced when there was really a big conversation about tip baiting with Instacart, and how it actually made some online publications. And this was back in 2020, right at the onset of the pandemic, whereby drivers were swiping for these really nice orders with really nice tips. And then, of course, back in 2020, you had to wait 24 hours before you saw what your tip was. Well, now that's where, as I alluded to just briefly, or not long, as I previously alluded to, now what happens is that you see what you should get with tips upon completion of the order. Now, I'm sharing about how I was tip baited, but me sharing how I was tip baited would not be nothing more than me preaching to the choir. Here's where I think I may help someone. Now, in a previous segment of the Gig Geezer, I showed multiple examples of how I caught multiple customers engaging in fraudulent activity, catching them right in the act. But then what I also learned was that these customers have a propensity for recidivism. That's your $10 phrase for today, meaning that they have a likelihood of doing this again and again. They're habitual with it. The other thing is that they're able to do these things with impunity. That's your $5 word for today, meaning that they'll do it and get away with it because the apps really do not crack down on them as they do on drivers. But that's also preaching to the choir. Now, what I did in this scenario is I contacted driver support, and I expressed to them that I am concerned about customer A. I'm concerned about customer A could give me a poor rating, and that customer A might allege things that are not true. And of course, I got the canned reply and the canned introduction and all. But to get further into this, so the support person confirmed, in fact, that I'd been tip baited. Then the support person says, okay, we're going to file a report on this. We also take this very seriously, he says. Well, having dealt with other acts of fraudulence by customers, I know that this is nothing more than him going through his machinations of his work. This is just another perfunctory canned statement. But suffice it to say, this is what he did. He put in a report, he got back with me. And while he did that, I'm thinking, hey, maybe I need to do this. I want to see if I can get some money out of this. And so I asked, okay, hey, can you at least bump my pay by, say, $5 to $7? And he said he would do that. As a courtesy, he would do that. Now, here's where I think I can help some driver. If you're in that situation, hey, try to get something back. Also, again, as I mentioned in another segment of the Gig Geezer, if you suspect, if you feel, if your instincts say that this person may try to sham you or trash you in your rating, contact driver support. You have to do it through the app, through the chat feature, but do it, because that is your best chance of protecting your rating, which is very important with Instacart, at least so they say, because of the availability of opportunities that come your way with a higher rating. But also when it comes to your money, in that, hey, now if you lose out on a $50 tip, it's still going to hurt. If you lose out on a $20 tip, it's still going to hurt. In this case, for me, $13 tip, hey, it just assuaged things. Oh, another $5 word for today. It just assuaged things. It made it softened the blow. But the fact is, they actually did it. And so I encourage you in these situations to try to get something back. Get something back if you can. Now, in both cases, what I experienced was a customer withholding the tip. It is obvious customers don't care, okay? They really don't care what they do and how they do things. And you know what? Now I see why drivers do things that they do. Admittedly, there are things that I do in retaliation to customers as well. I'm not going to get into any detail. They're very subtle, and they're only on certain apps that I can do this. But it almost becomes a love-hate situation with these customers. The fact of the matter is, though, is that these people, good or bad, they are what contribute to our bottom line each and every day, or each and every time that we go out here and do our hustle. And so the main thing is that sometimes you just have to kind of take a step back and see things for what they are, and realize that it's just water off your back. That's almost what you can do. Now, for me, in the greater scheme of things, $2 is nothing. I know statistically I'm in the upper 90, 98, 99 percentile range as far as of what drivers make nationally doing gig hustles. But it's still what you deal with. My suggestion is, when it's all said and done, just have a short memory of it, because that's just one delivery out of probably on average over 100. Now, for me, it's about 100 deliveries a week. For somebody else, it may be 20, 30, 40, 50. And for somebody else, it can be 150 to 200 deliveries a week. I don't know. But for me, it's 1 out of 100. And that's the way I have to keep it. In this particular, it was 1 out of 100, because 2 weeks ago it was about 100, 105, 110. So 1 out of 100. So it's that 1%. But that 1% is what creates that bad taste, and then creates this dialogue that we share among each other. Now, if there's a customer that's listening, understand that you're messing with somebody's money, okay? When you think that you're doing something, when you think that you're being yourself and say, shine this person, he don't deserve, or she don't deserve that money. I don't like this person. Well, we don't like you either. Just know that we don't like you either. It's just that we have to show some restraint in what we do. That's really the bottom line. Have some restraint, drivers. Take a step back, realize it's probably 1%, less than 1% out of everything that you do. And then in the greater scheme of things, within the month or the year, it's not even a percentage point. It's not even a 10th of a percentage point or a 100th of a percentage point. It just pulls you from 100% down to 99.9999, whatever. And with that, this is another segment of the Gig Geezer. I'm Inwood Lane, and may your hustle continue.
Thank you for checking out this segment of the Gig Geezer. If you like the content